is on the left. He is with Honeycomb Family Farms. And this is my first podcast. So welcome in. Thanks for tuning in. Let me see if I can get past this music. So what it do, fellas? I got the 1, 2, 3 grow logo right here. That's sick, huh?
Keeping it 100. Hell yeah. I love it.
So thank you too for hopping on this first podcast with me. How does my audio sound?
It sounds great, man. And I want to say thank you. I'm 5 days now without smoking any cigarettes. I've been using your hemp cigs, and I'm going steady strong, brother. So you made a huge life change to me. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to say thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Is it similar to smoking a cigarette?
Almost, but better. It smells a lot better, and it tastes a lot better. And I feel like it doesn't leave that like stink on your fingers. It leaves like a good smell, you know?
I smoked my, I usually smoke weed in the morning, but this morning I mixed it up and smoked a hemp cigarette. And I felt an instant like relief on my mind and an instant relief in my body. I was out at the farm, I was pulling males. And man, that CBD flower is weird when you haven't smoked. You know, it's crystal clear. It hits you like that.
Yeah, it really does. It really, really does. I'm sorry, I changed the angle on my phone. I hope that didn't mix it all up.
No, it looks great. It looks great.
Okay.
So since I got you two cannabis cultivators on this podcast, and it's our first podcast, I wanted to do this series of podcasts about cautionary tales and really dive into stories of maybe failures. Obviously everything turns out to be okay in the end, but failures at the time that maybe other people can avoid. And we can kind of take it any direction that we want to take it. And I really just, I really want to just hear your story and hear maybe we'll start with the first story of like, when has something, when was the first biggest thing that happened in your cannabis growing career? I know you've been growing cannabis for how long have you been doing it?
Collectively 40 years, but so I personally have been growing for about 2 years. Trevor has been growing all of his life. So he's born into the industry,
Third generation.
Yeah. Super long tail. So I can tell you my mistakes, and we can talk a lot about how he's helped me correct them and fix them. And I'm sure he has some really interesting stories because he's probably been through it all,
Yeah, I definitely want to dive into one of those stories, man.
Yeah, well, I think after me and Trevor met, the really biggest thing that I learned with him is I was growing really great cannabis and ultra high quality and really what I thought was like the best quality that I could produce. But after some time, I started to realize that like the cleanliness in my room was really severely affecting like the production rate. And so a lot of people like downplay. They're like, oh, I can set my light on timers. I can give it its nutrients and that's all I've got to do. But really like cleanliness is going to affect your product tenfold. And if your room's not clean, your trichomes and everything within your product is going to show that. And so I thought I was doing really good, and I was spending thousands of dollars on my power bill. I was spending hours and hours, 12 hours a day of my energy on plants and thinking that let me spray it with this and let me treat it with that. But the first 7 rules that I've learned from Trevor is clean, 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 and clean again. And so through that, I mean, I've stepped up my production from, getting about 6 pounds to 10 pounds just from cleanliness. And it blows me away, but the results really, really show when you keep your stuff clean, whether it's indoor or outdoor. And with it being outdoor, like something we learned this year is like, it's really important to have a high power leaf blower and blow down that morning dew because that will set you back every day,
Oh, so tell me about that morning dew. We don't have that in Colorado. It's very dry here.
Oh, So y'all are lucky.
Yeah. Tell me about this morning dew. I've never heard of this problem.
Talk about it, Trev.
Well, it's the dew point in the air, and in more humidity areas, we get this extra wet, extra humid climate to the plants. And every morning we wake up, if we don't tarp them, we wake up with a extreme wet dew on top of everything, every grass blade, every flower, every plant. So what we do to combat that moisture, that mold inducer, is we use these leaf blowers and we blow everything off, keeping everything super clean, super dry, igniting the day to, open transpiration, clean stomata, and, we get those plants really baking in the sun.
Yeah, and then once we get them blown down and clean, we do usually every third day we'll do a light foliage spray and do topical treatments. Yep. And a lot of people neglect that. They think everything comes in through the roots, but something that I've learned from working with somebody who's very deep in the industry is if you're gonna grow good stuff, it needs a lot more than what you would just expect going into the roots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because in Mother Nature, rain feeds the plants, so it's just as important to induce that same type of regimen for the plants that we grow, emulating Mother Nature as close as we can.
Yeah.
Wow, incredible. And what would be some advice that you would give to someone getting into either growing cannabis indoor or an a large ag farmer, a person who wants to get into farming outdoor as well? What advice would you give to someone that maybe doesn't have any money or resources at their fingertips?
Well, the first thing is you're never limited to your resources. You're limited to your resourcefulness. So never be scared to reach out to others. Tell them your story, tell them your ambitions, write out a plan. There's always people ready to do the same thing you are that aren't willing to put the back work into it. So you're never limited to your resources, only your resourcefulness.
Yeah. So
second off, the most important thing of all of this is cleanliness. You've got to make sure that everything you do starts with a sanitary environment, and you have to make sure to meticulously take care of your children. And when I say children, I mean plants.
Yeah.
You want to add something to that, Eric?
No. Really, like you said, the cleanliness is so crucial, because if you keep it clean, that's where you'll see the downfalls in any type of plants. And by really checking each one of those plants every day, you can more specifically narrow down what they need nutrients wise and what they need to thrive harder, and we have Google at our hands, and as terrible as that sounds, it's look it up, figure it out, and let's make that
YouTube. YouTube is
YouTube, podcast
like right now. This is how you get the information. We are the news.
Yeah.
Yep, you get it right here on the podcast. Yep. I got a serious question to pivot on it. The hardest thing that I've run into is finding good people. Obviously, you guys found each other. What was it like before you guys found each other? Did you guys turn through some bad people, or kind of tell me stories that have on that end?
Yep. It, it's just like anything else. You got to keep chipping at the rock to get to the center. And, it's hard to find good people. And fortunately for us, we've aligned, and it's taken quite the journey to get to this point.
Yeah, I went through about 6 harvests with another head grower that was kind of leading the way, teaching me things, and he was definitely not teaching me how things were correctly, and
the cleanliness part. That
cleanliness part and the financial part. He was more so about making money than making good product. And the reality of it all is this is a very important thing, that we're making good product for people, because really the money, it comes and it goes, but people are using this for medical purposes. Yes. We're beyond just recreational. I love recreationally smoking, and there's nights where I'll get super high for no reason. But every morning when I wake up, I like to smoke a hemp cigarette, and it levels me out, and it helps me with my PTSD as a retired veteran, you know?
Yep.
And so that's something that I've picked up from Trevor, is like the pride that goes into growing each one of these plants, and realizing that anything that leaves our facility is medication that's going to somebody at not only like a good rate, but a good value, you know? And we're not going to be like Big Pharma, who's like pumping out Xanax pills and just giving it to people on insurance's dollar.
They got that lab grown meat now.
Yeah.
Like,
that impossible burger.
Exactly. The Bill Gates burger.
What's
along those same lines, fellas, what advice would you give to someone you know, that maybe is working with a business partner and they're new to the industry? How can you really vet someone and make sure that the people that you're working with are good, even though they're not, obviously nothing lasts forever, but I mean, at least are they worth working with during this period of time? Or, you know, do you need to find new business partners? Do you guys have anything to say along those lines? You know, I guess the question I'm asking is, you know, how to vet someone, I guess, nowadays in this industry.
Well, the answer is simple: clear communication. Like any relationship takes open and honest, clear communication. And what I mean by that is sometimes we talk to each other, and you know, one person's stream is another person's river. And we river instead of stream and river in order to have clear communication. And I think it's super important that everybody gets on the same page when they're speaking to each other, and really identifying what they mean when they speak. And I think so often people are scared to express their inner thoughts, and they kind of mask it with unclear communication. And we found that the key to healthy, prosperous relationships is being open, honest, and clearly communicate in intentions.
Yep.
So
Love it. And would you say that you guys knew that you guys were going to be good business partners just by the vibe or the feeling? Can you run off that vibe or feeling for the most part?
Yeah, well, truthfully, the second we met, we just vibed and clicked, and we knew that there was big things ahead of us.
Yeah, I mean, it was similar to when I followed you, and I was like, "Hey, man, your name's Eric."
Like, I've been vibing with you for a year and a half on Instagram, and it's just
sometimes it just works.
I knew we'd be friends, and here we are on a podcast, finally face to face.
Yeah.
It's quite a, and that's the same thing that happened with my business partner on my farm now up in Wellington, the 15 acres, Jordan. I had 4 other business partners farming, and I churned through them because, that, you know, it was either their attitude or their, you know, or they just weren't a good fit. And I didn't make them leave. They left themselves. I like to say they fired themselves. But then Jordan came along, and it was instant. Like, I knew Jordan. I just felt it in my heart. I was like, man, we're going to do big things. I can feel it, you know? And that's, you know, that was a big part of, and it's been great ever since. I mean, we never argue. We get, like you said, clear communication, but I mean, to find that after 2 years of business, it took me to find one good, solid business partner. I mean, that's just how it is in this industry, right? Would you guys concur with that?
Yeah.
You definitely have to weed your gardens. Like, you know,
and a lot of weeds pop up because everybody wants a piece. You know, everybody wants a piece.
Everybody does.
It takes a little bit of weeding to get to the good plants.
I guess that brings me to
and that's why we pheno hunt.
Exactly, pheno hunt at your people. And do you see people that you can tell they just got dollar signs in their eyes, and they're over exaggerating the money in this industry, and it's like ridiculous. You see those people, they're like, you guys are gonna make 12 million this year. It's like, no.
Look, let's be realistic here. Let's be realistic.
Money's not even real.
Exactly.
And a lot of people that are doing it for the money, those are the places that end up closing down. You know, those are the people that don't prosper, because in reality, as long as you're making good product and you're making good relationships, the money will come whether, you know, it comes in abundance or it comes in just enough to feed you and your family. It's going to come as long as you're putting the right energy into this industry, you know, and yeah, you're taking care of others. Like that's what I love about this industry is this is the kind of industry that it's like, I'll support a friend. If a friend is like, hey, I grew this and I would really like to make a profit off of it, I'm going to be like, well, I'd love to purchase some and help you out and support, because I've been there, and I've done that. And you know what? We all start somewhere, you know?
Yep. And there's a lot of opportunity for us guys.
And I mean, not everybody masterminds. Not everybody pumps out the perfect product. Yeah.
No, and I would say, you know, to all you people that are listening and that you know, you have good hearts, reach out to good people like us, because we'll put an arm out and pull you up with us. I mean, it's nothing to us to find you good pricing on product. You know, it's like, it doesn't really hurt us. I mean, it's a little bit of time out of our day to find you the resources that you need or whatnot. But the way I look at it, I'm like, man, I got a lot of stuff at my fingertips here in Colorado. And it's like, I really want to give back to a lot of the younger startups like myself and just help those people. I mean, will I help the big guys out? Probably no. I'll probably stay under the radar. But, you know, any person who's getting into it that has a good heart, it's like, let's fucking help those people and just, you know, keep our head down to all the other people.
Yeah. Yep. And I know you mean that firsthand, because even when I contacted you about the smokes, you're like, oh, we'll figure it out. We'll make it worth your while so that you can get them and quit those cigarettes because they're no good. And it all worked out, and I've been forever grateful for our friendship. And now this is like just icing on the cake, you know.
I can't believe that you fell into.
So I mean, honestly, anybody who smokes cigarettes who's listening now, dude,
I'll have to get to start to making 4 more for you. Before we go, why don't I plug your guys' information in? Eric on the right is 123 Grow with me on Instagram. And then Trevor on the left is Family Farms on Instagram, if you guys caught that. And I'll put those in the link as well below if I can figure out all this YouTube stuff, since this will be my first upload. And get a big following off this first podcast. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Hey, be sure to let us know. We'll tag and share it up.
Now remember, folks, not slugs.
Yeah. Hey, Eric, it's a real honor that you asked both of us to be on here today. It really, really means a lot.
I'm so glad.
We appreciate your time.
And you know, and I've been following you for a long time, and I've loved watching you grow. You've been a huge motivational factor. Yeah. I mean, I've been from your memes to your different things. I've been like, you know what? It's motivation. And when you talk about, you know what, this is the difference between a CEO and an entrepreneur, and you really have made that difference. And I'm thriving to follow in your footsteps, brother.
Dude, that's
your inspiration is contagious, Eric.
Yeah.
What? I wasn't expecting that love, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate it.
Nothing but honesty, man. Nothing but honesty.
Dude, I think genuinely people are gonna love this content, you know, because I listen to content like this all day on YouTube. It's always in the back burner on my phone. Like, I have YouTube playing.
Yeah.
As long as it's educational, people will tune in, you know.
Yeah.
So awesome, Trevor, Eric. Thank you, fellas. Appreciate it a lot.
Thank you, Eric.
Let's see if I could do an outro song on this with the key.
Hey, hell yeah, that sounds great.
Instrumental beat.